The night he pulled over was supposed to be ordinary. One of those evenings that slides quietly between dinner dishes and bedtime stories. The road was nearly empty, the sky heavy with clouds, and inside the car his daughter slept soundly in the back seat, her small hand curled around a stuffed toy. He should have kept driving. He had work early the next morning, bills waiting at home, and a heart that had already carried more than enough weight. But then he saw it, a stranded patrol car on the shoulder of the road, hazard lights flashing weakly into the dark. And somewhere deep inside his chest something tightened. Not fear, not even curiosity. Just recognition. Like the past had quietly stepped into the headlights and was daring him to stop. He almost didn't. He told himself it wasn't his problem, that someone else would help. That he had a sleeping child in the back seat and a lifetime of reasons to stay uninvolved. But his hands turned the steering wheel before his mind could talk him out of it. Old habits of kindness have a way of making decisions for you. He parked a careful distance away, stepped out into the cold, and raised his hands slightly. A sign of peace life had taught him long ago. The uniformed officer turned toward him, relief already softening her tense shoulders. Her radio was dead, her car wouldn't start. She thanked him politely, her voice steady, professional, and hauntingly familiar. He didn't recognize her at first, not fully, but his heart did. She stepped closer, the gravel crunching beneath her boots. The streetlight flickered overhead, and for a moment her face came fully into view. Older now, lines at the corners of her eyes. A look of quiet experience, the kind that comes from years of seeing the world at its worst. And suddenly the night bent backward. He wasn't a single father standing beside an old minivan anymore. He was a much younger man, soaked in rain and panic, standing in a hospital hallway that smelled like antiseptic and heartbreak. He remembered the flashing lights, the twisted metal. The scream that wasn't even a scream, more like a sound torn out of his chest. He remembered begging the world to give him back the one person it had taken from him. And he remembered her. The rookie cop who had arrived first. Who had knelt on the wet road beside him, holding his shaking hands even though she didn't know him. She had stayed long after the paperwork was done. Long after her shift had ended. Long after the world had officially moved on, she had promised him he wouldn't be alone, and somehow, she had kept that promise when he needed it most, in the hours when grief had no mercy. Now years later they stood face to face again on a dark, quiet road. Two lives that had drifted apart suddenly tangled back together by a broken engine and failing radio. She didn't recognize him, not yet. He swallowed the storm of memories and focused on the task in front of him. The engine. His hands moved automatically, fixing the loose connection, grateful for something practical to hold on to. She talked while he worked, her tone light and relieved. He nodded when appropriate, but inside his mind replayed the night that changed everything. The accident, the hospital, the tiny bundle placed into his arms, his daughter, the last gift from a life that had shattered. He raised that little girl with every ounce of strength he had left. He learned how to braid hair, how to fake smiles, how to cry silently where she wouldn't see. He built a life out of routine and quiet courage. And through it all, he never forgot the officer who stayed. When the patrol car finally roared back to life, she laughed, a tired, genuine sound that carried gratitude and relief. And something in that laugh cracked him open. He couldn't leave. Not this time. He said her name, softly, like a memory. She froze, turned, searched his face the way people do when they know an answer is there. They just haven't unwrapped it yet. Then recognition hit. Her posture changed. The strength remained, but beneath it, he saw the same young woman who once sat beside him on a cold, terrible night, refusing to walk away. She whispered his name back. Time stopped. The world went quiet. And for a moment they were just two humans, connected by grief. By kindness, by a night neither of them had ever really left behind. They talked, quietly, honestly. Awkward at first, then gently, like touching something fragile. He told her about his daughter, about the small victories, the long nights, the stubborn hope. She told him about the years on the force, the calls that stayed with her, the fear that one day she'd arrive too late. And then she said something that stayed with him. You didn't just survive. You learned how to keep living. That matters. When another patrol unit arrived, they shared a final moment, a simple squeeze of the hand. No dramatic speeches, no perfect closure. Just gratitude, respect, and the unspoken truth that sometimes strangers save each other in ways they never fully understand. He drove home with tears gently blurring the lines on the road, not of sadness, but release, peace, acceptance. He tucked his daughter into bed and watched her breathing, steady, safe, alive. And he finally understood. Being a hero was never about the badge, or the uniform, or the perfect timing. It was about choosing, again and again, to stop when you could keep going, to help when you're tired, to show up even when your heart feels worn thin. And as the night finally settled around the quiet house, he realized something else. Kindness doesn't expire. It echoes, sometimes for years, and sometimes it finds its way back to you on a lonely stretch of road under a flickering streetlight.